Blind and VI Tennis Channel.
I'm Anita Deb, and this evening I have with me Naqi Rizvi, who is the current world champion for the B1 category in men's singles and doubles. He won both the IBSA World Games in both singles and doubles last year, and as I say, is the current world champion from the tournament in Poland last year. Thanks, Naqi, for agreeing to have a little chat with me about your journey and the fantastic weekend you had last weekend, I think, where more congratulations, I believe, are in order.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. Lovely to be here.
So, as I say, Naqi, you are a bit of a superstar on the courts. Can you tell us a little bit about your blind tennis journey and explain a little bit of what you've achieved today?
Yes, of course. So I started blind tennis back in 2016, and in terms of some context, I'd never had a blind tennis before that. I hadn't really tried many blind sports because when I grew up, there wasn't really opportunities to try different sports. So the only one I really did extensively was blind cricket, and that was just with my dad. So nothing sort of official or nothing organized. And then when I came to the UK to do my master's, came across different sports, mainly through Metro Blind Sports, and I was like, wow, blind tennis sounds cool. Let me give it a try. I wanted to give lots of different sports a try, and I did, and stuck with some of the ones I thought I enjoyed or could be reasonably good at. And tennis was one which immediately captured my attention. And, I had absolutely no idea about how the court was laid out, what the rules were. I just knew it involved a racket and a ball. And I rocked up on my first day, in jeans and shoes because I had no idea what attire would be best suited, etc. But the volunteers were absolutely brilliant and, got me hooked fairly soon. And that was the start of the journey. I used to be notorious in those early days for hitting shots in the car park because I just thought power was the way to do it. And obviously it's clearly not. It's a lot of technique and it's a lot about how you hit the shot, not just powerfully. So started to work on different aspects around serving, obviously, and returning, then more into sort of the rules and the match play, etc. And started to enter competitions more at a regional level fairly soon after that. And 2018 was my first ever opportunity to go international. And Dublin was the first tournament where I took part. And obviously, because I was still fairly new in my journey, did reasonably well, not incredibly well, placed fourth, which I was really happy with. And that in some ways gave me the motivation to become even better because I saw at home there were some fantastic players. Abroad, there were some really, really good players, and I wanted to be like them. In fact, I wanted to be better than them. And for me, because I enjoyed the sport, I love it, I knew that I could, if I put in the right time and energy behind it, get better. And then 2019, I came back with more determination and did better. I came third, which was the first time I was on the podium, which just felt really, really special. And it was just such a fantastic week of tennis. And then obviously we had the situation in the world where everything was shut down. And when things started to open up, I think I then, knew that this is my opportunity. There won't be any competitions for a while, but I need to get onto my A game. And I got access to a coach and one of the clubs in London that was happy to have me as their member, the only VI member that they had. And I started to have other-sided people that I could have a hit with every now and then just to help me improve my game, to help me improve my return percentage, etc. And mentally as well, try to focus a lot on how I could improve as a player because I used to find previously that when it came to some very tense situations like tie breaks, it was often mentally and psychologically that would let me down rather than my technical capabilities in some ways. So 2021 was the year where I really started to feel like a much better tennis player and won the UK Nationals for the first time and then went on to win other competitions as well. I think in 2022 there was a friendly in Poland, which, I was really glad and honored to win, and then won the UK Nationals again. And 2023 was the best year in some ways for me so far, where, as you say, I won the IBSA, the IBTA and the UK Nationals. And that's not to say I didn't lose a match. I definitely did at home. And I remember that really well because I lost 8-6 in a tiebreak, which is a pretty painful way to lose. But I think winning and losing is part of it. What's more important is how you develop and grow as a person and as a player. And I definitely feel the journey of the last 8 years has seen lots of bumps and lots of heartbreaks, but also lots of jubilation and lots of moments of joy, and just something that gives me a lot of satisfaction and a lot of joy.
Absolutely amazing, Naqi. I mean, congratulations seems like a bit of an understatement of a word, really. You've obviously done exceptionally well. And as you say, you've got cause to celebrate for many, many achievements. But you talked about the bumps. What do you think are the general challenges that the sport faces and that you faced yourself along the way?
Well, the list for something like this is incredibly long, because we know generally for disability sport, it has a lot of challenges, right? Not just at an international level or a competitive level, but even more at a grassroots level. Everything from how do you reach out to people at a grassroots level to get them involved, to get them engaged? How do you provide the right conditions in terms of the noise situation, in terms of tactile lines, for example, but also outside of the sport? How do you enable people to get to those venues in the first place if transport isn't that accessible, if people aren't familiar with the area? How do you get access to volunteers who can help run and facilitate the sessions and provide these people with some of that support? How do you in some ways help people integrate into a more mainstream setting? How do you provide the visibility and the funding? How do you get the resources behind it? How do you in some ways allow these people to have access to coaching, to have access to information? Because a lot of sighted people, for example, might be able to see stuff on telly and get an idea of what different types of tennis strokes are. But if you can't see that at all, it can be really hard. And then obviously getting access to funding, etc., to be able to travel, to be able to compete. So it is a whole host of things. And, it is quite sad that internationally, blind tennis isn't as well known as, it's brilliant that other sports like wheelchair tennis is so well known. Even learning disability tennis is getting there now. For blind tennis, it just doesn't seem to have that platform, be it in the Grand Slams, be it in the Paralympics, or any other sort of really, really big world stage. And I really hope it will get there. There's a lot of things that we need to do from a funding perspective, as well as influential people behind it who can give this more impetus, because wheelchair tennis paved the way in many ways for disability tennis. So we should be able to latch onto that and accelerate some of this journey. But I just sadly don't see that commitment or that desire for some people, really high up who are involved in tennis or who are maybe at mainstream or VR tennis to really get it up there. And I hope that we absolutely will. And obviously, my personal perspective as well, it was quite hard because up until this year, I wasn't competing for GB, which meant almost everything that I did was self-funded. And, with the travel, with the accommodation, it ends up being a lot of money. And I feel really fortunate that, I have a job, which means I can bear some of those costs, but it still ends up costing you a lot when it comes to equipment, when it comes to coaching. All of those things end up costing you a lot of money. I normally play outdoors, even in the winter when it's really cold, because I don't really have access to indoor courts. And indoor courts tend to be horribly expensive, and outdoor courts generally are much cheaper. So it is a lot of things to kind of think about. And even when I was starting to work on my tennis and practicing a little bit more to get better, I knew that a lot of these would be challenges that I'd have to overcome on my own and kind of make some of those sacrifices, because not everything would be easily available in terms of volunteers, in terms of the equipment, in terms of the resources. But I persevered and the results paid off, and it's something I'm really proud of.
I think that you just put very eloquently how many players feel, and have voiced a lot of the concerns and challenges that a lot of people do face. And by speaking today, and I know that you speak in lots of places and have been given awards for your contribution, hopefully it will serve as an inspiration to others about how it is possible to overcome some of the challenges. And there is a long road to go, isn't there, Naqi? But
It is, yeah.
You're part of the journey, aren't you?
I hope so, yes. And I want to be, one of those guys who just doesn't complain about stuff that doesn't work. We all want to be part of the solution and help improve some of these things. So I hope by giving more visibility and by getting the right impetus behind this, hopefully we all can make things better. Because as you say, I have spoken in, a fair few mainstream forums as well, and I try and connect with more mainstream coaches and players and other folk who can help drive, because we obviously have people who are passionate about this, who are within the community, but I think we need lots of allies and lots of people from outside the community who can come join and help accelerate this, because we all need to work with each other. We can't do it alone.
You were talking about, sort of the need for blind and VI tennis to have a higher profile in some of the bigger places and the Grand Slams. And although it wasn't part directly of the Grand Slam, you did play in the Play Your Way to Wimbledon finals last weekend, which I think is the second time the event has taken place at Wimbledon. Am I correct?
That's correct, yes. Last year was the first time.
And congratulations, because I believe you won your category.
I did. Thank you very much. It was a very lovely event, and the people who were there are great friends of mine. People I played with lots of different times. It was lovely to see them again, and it is wonderful when you can see the sport grow and develop, because even if you have the same people, when you see them improve as well, you know that the sport is getting better. And I just hope to see that, because it's not just about an individual, it's about the whole community, about the whole sport. So it was really fun. It was really nice to see everyone after a long time, and some good matches in some nice, quiet conditions. So, the 4 B1s who were there, because they just select the top 4 from each category. Not quite sure why, probably to do with numbers, etc. But it was lovely to see them and, to play with the 2 of them. So very happy with the win at the end, but it was definitely a close one.
Yeah, I looked at the scores and it definitely seemed quite close. There was quite a lot of close matches right across the board, weren't there? I think
That was, yeah.
Yeah, some of the finals matches, I think the B3 women's final was quite a nail biter, wasn't it?
Exactly, which is great, right? Because that's when the sport is developing and lots of people are coming up together, which is what you need. Because if it's just one-sided, it's not really fun for the player or the spectators. So it's nice when you can see how things change and how the match can be in the favor of one person, and then the momentum can shift very quickly to the other side.
What did it mean for you playing at Wimbledon, at that iconic venue?
Well, obviously, it's a very prestigious club, and it's probably, even in non-tennis circles, probably the most prestigious tennis club around the world, right? Because there are obviously 4 main Grand Slams, and when you ask someone who doesn't play tennis or doesn't follow tennis about the Grand Slam, Wimbledon is one that everyone's heard of. So it's definitely so iconic, so brilliant, and it's really nice to be a part of that and to be able to play in some of the excellent facilities. It does obviously make me a little bit sad that because we play indoors far away from the main center, that we don't really get the visibility that we perhaps could if we were able to play outside. But lots of people pass by, or lots of other tournaments happen, like one of the cups that was happening last week. We weren't able to get much visibility because no one really tends to come to the indoor court. So there's probably more work that can be done there. And obviously on the other side, I'm really passionate about the inclusion side of things. I do think that, with some of that prestige and stuff comes a little bit of exclusivity, which I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. I think tennis has in the past and oftentimes is still viewed as a very exclusive rich person sport, which I really don't think it is or should be. So I really hope that more and more venues and clubs and organizations can open their doors to other people and not put unnecessary barriers that makes it even harder for people to be a part of this wonderful sport.
Absolutely, well said. So in terms of your next goals, what have you got in your diary for the rest of the year?
Well, from a tournament perspective, definitely to try and defend my titles both at the world stage in Italy this year and then for the nationals as well, which will be happening in November. But, I definitely don't just care about that. That is important and that means a lot to me. But at the end, it's about me being a better version of myself, both on court and off court. So I want to be a better tennis player, but more importantly, I want to be a part of taking this movement forward. And I've been trying to make different connections, speaking to different people, raising the profile. And I hope that, when we all come together from different parts of the world and make those wonderful connections, that we'll be able to take the sport forward. So the dream and the aspiration in some ways would be to see VI tennis in the Paralympics in 2028.
Well, Naqi, with an ambassador like you on the stage, I think that, the sport has a lot to be thankful for. I wish you the very, very best of luck, both in Poland and Italy and at the Nationals later this year. And thank you so much for coming to share your journey and last weekend's tournament at Wimbledon with us. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And I do hope that I can be an ambassador and I can be that agent of change, because I definitely don't think I've done enough yet, but with people like yourself and lots of other people who I know are incredibly passionate, I'm sure we'll make some really, really positive strides.
Best of luck, Naqi, going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.